Welcome, 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 everyone. My name is Charles Hayward, Associate Broker here with the Hayward Homes team, and we are excited once again to bring you some information about Shark Island. Everyone has been talking about it. The buzz is very strong right now. This is our third session, and it is once again my honor to introduce our speaker who will be giving us the information today. Our speaker is CEO of E. Wells Realty and Consultancy, and she's co-founder of the Ghana Association of Real Estate Brokers. She's highly knowledgeable in all the various aspects of real estate and provides advisory services to homeowners, investors, and developers alike. She absolutely has a passion for helping people build wealth through home ownership by connecting those throughout the diaspora with this real estate opportunity in Ghana. Her brokerage, Ewell's Realty, is highly respected, as she is also a trusted voice in the sector. Also recognized as one of the top 40 CEOs in Ghana. She's been crowned the African Woman Achiever in Real Estate by the African Women's Awards in Ethiopia. She has won the most respected CEO in real estate in 2020, nominated for the Feminine Achievement Award in 2021, won the most trusted real estate broker of the year in 2022, and this year alone has been awarded the most trusted real estate broker award by the Diaspora Ghana Property Awards in UK. She's been nominated for the Professional Service Entrepreneur of the Year Award at the Woman in Entrepreneurship. She's the Woman CEO of the Year, the 5th edition of the esteemed Women's Choice Africa, and she's appeared on BBC and TV Africa's The Real Estate Market Show. Today, she graces us with her presence, and it is my esteemed pleasure and honor to present to some and introduce to others Miss Hannah Atiase. Hannah, can you hear me?
Yes, I can, Mr. Hayward. Thank you so much.
Awesome, awesome. Well, you go right ahead. Take it away.
All right. Thank you once again for the opportunity to be here. I'm always excited to be talking about real estate opportunities in Ghana. So thank you, Mr. Charles Hayward and the Hayward Homes team. Thank you very much. So I'm just going to do a short presentation, and then we will have our lawyer, Emmanuel Matikale, also touch on the escrow services, focusing on the pre-closing, the closing, and the post-closing services. So he's going to get into the legalities of purchasing a property in Ghana. So thank you very much. And I'll go ahead and get started. Real estate investment opportunities in Ghana. One of the key things is to understand the home buying process. Thank you. Next slide, please. I want to touch on a few key things. Just a little bit of information about our company, Ewell's Realty and Consultancy. I think it's so imperative that you understand the company that you're engaging with. And then we're going to highlight some key investment opportunities right here in Ghana. I'll show you a brief video presentation. And then after that, the lawyer will get into the escrow services. And then we'll open up for questions and answers. So as Mr. Charles already explained, I'm the CEO and founder of Ewell's Realty and Consultancy. We've been in business for over 9 years, since March 2014. And I had real estate experience in the United States and have experience now almost 10 years in Ghana. So I do bring quite a bit of knowledge, experience, and expertise in both industry markets. And we're glad to say that we are a trusted voice in the real estate industry. We've won several awards for that. And yes, we are also we're members, though I am a founding member of Ghana Association of Real Estate Brokers. We are members as well, which is very important when working with a real estate agent. You want to make sure they have a body that they are accountable to, and they have certain codes of ethics that they follow, and that, they've gone through the rigorous vetting system where there are no criminal records, and also they have a proven track record of conducting real estate transactions. So we are part of the association and have been so for the last 6 years, going on 7. At Ewell's Realty and Consultancy, we host 3 seminars every year, or 3 conferences. We have pioneered the first time home buyers in Ghana seminar. We do that every December. This December, on December 7th, we'll be hosting that at the Accra International Conference Center. The theme is all things home. So we're going to have various vendors ranging from all things interior to all things exterior. We'll have various speakers, including lawyer Matikole on there as well. And we'll have other speakers talking about mortgage products and insurance products as well. And then we'll have 2 key panel discussions. One will be talking about affordable housing and its feasibility in Ghana. And the second panel discussion will be about building generational wealth through home ownership. And then also we have the African Women in Real Estate Conference that we host. And unfortunately, we only see about 14% of women in the real estate sector in Africa, and we see well over 69% overseas. So we want to change that narrative. We want to empower, inspire, and motivate more women across the continent to venture into the real estate space. And finally, we host African Youth in Real Estate Conference. This year, we hosted it in conjunction with the student union body and the University of Ghana Business School. We had over 500 students in attendance, and we educated them on the real estate value chain and real estate investment opportunities. So that's a little summary of the company. Next slide, please. And as Mr. Hayward mentioned already, we have won various awards. We are in partnership with the Ghana Investment Promotion Council, the Diaspora Affairs Office of the President, the Ghana National Chamber of Commerce, and all our events are endorsed by Beyond the Return. And we're also in partnership with DAF, the Diaspora Africa Forum, which is the only diplomatic embassy in Ghana, which actually advocates for those in the diaspora. We've also won several awards. He's mentioned them all, including the Ghana West Africa Business Excellence Awards as well earlier this year. On BBC World News, I spoke about real estate investment opportunities in Ghana, and I'm going to delve into that now. Next slide, please. So at Ewell's Realty and Consultancy, we primarily focus on helping local residents and those in the diaspora as well. Our services include selling, buying, and renting out properties. That's both commercial, residential, and land acquisition as well. We offer property management services for those of you who are concerned about buying properties and not being able to manage it. We focus on making sure that we not only maintain your assets, but we help grow your assets as well by making sure we provide value-added service to property management. Relocation services, we assist you with your transition from overseas to Ghana. We make sure that that is a smooth transition for you. First-time home buyers consultation, those of you who are buying properties in Ghana for the first time. We do offer our one-on-one services so that we can determine the property you're interested in terms of the property type, whether it's a house, a townhouse, a condo, apartment, that sort of thing. And then your preferred location, whether you want it on the mountain somewhere or beachfront or in the city or in a rural area on the outskirts. We help you determine all that. And of course, we help you decipher your budget as well. And then the escrow services, the lawyer will be going into details with that. We offer that service. And real estate investment advisory services. Perhaps you want to come in as a real estate investor and you want to know the right areas to build and the right types of units. We can assist you with that as well. Next slide, please. Thank you. All right, I've talked about our African youth and real estate investment opportunities. Next slide, please. And then the next slide as well. We've talked about the African Women in Real Estate, the First Time Home Buyer Seminar. You know, I really believe in empowering and educating you about the home buying process so you avoid becoming victims of fraud. So please, you can always visit the website to make sure you register and eventbrite.com. We have in-person and virtual viewing as well for the First Time Home Buyers in Ghana seminar on December 7th. Please, next slide. All right, so today I want to focus on real estate investment opportunities. We're going to look at tourism accommodation and cash flow and capital gains. These are the key things that investors look for. Now, in terms of tourism accommodation, Ghana is, next slide, please. Ghana is a high tourist attraction destination. Just last year, 2022, according to the Ministry of Tourism reports, in the month of December, in those 31 days, there were 1.2 million visitors that came to Ghana just those 31 days. So you can imagine how many visitors we have throughout the year. And so it is definitely a high tourist center or destination. And bearing that in mind, as an investor, when you purchase a investment property in Ghana, because of the demand as a tourist location, there is also the demand for housing as well. And the same report shows that over 41% of people prefer to be in a private accommodation. That's apartment, townhouse, condo, that sort of thing. So once you purchase a unit, you have it as an investment property, that shows you that the occupancy rates would be high because of it being a high tourist destination. Next slide, please. So we've talked about tourism accommodation. Now I want to talk about monthly cash flow. The rule of thumb for gross annual rental yields is you should be looking at least a 7% return. Well, I have some good news today. Ghana has the highest annual rental yields in Africa, in the entire continent. And in Ghana, you'll be looking at anywhere from 18 to 20% in prime areas. These are areas that are close to the airport. These are areas that are patronized quite a bit by expats and by foreigners, because they have to be within a 3-mile radius of the airport. We call this area the diplomatic enclave. So these prime areas, airport residential, cantonments, Labani, Osu, East Legon, are areas where you can purchase investment properties and you will receive that monthly cash flow. And you'll be looking at yields well over 7%. Next slide, please. Capital gains. Now, for capital gains, you want to be looking at investing in what we call emerging markets, developing areas. These are areas that are close to prime areas. They are the outskirts of prime areas. So, for example, you have East Legon that I mentioned, that's a prime area. And so an emerging area is East Legon Hills, which is pretty much on the outskirts of East Legon. It is one of the fastest emerging areas in Accra right now. You have other areas like Pokwasi or Yarifa, Pram Pram, and Abri as well. Now, we're looking at capital gains. So in these areas, you buy and you hold. So for example, I'll give you an example of some units that were being sold in East Legon Hills about a year and a half ago for about $48,000. And today those units are going for $120,000. So you see the appreciation value is well over 30%. And conservatively speaking, we like to tell our potential investors to look for at least a 30% return on their investment. So these are areas that you will begin to see people moving out of the city into these outskirts, and then the demand for housing increases as well, and then you see the appreciation values as well. Next slide, please. All right, so I want to highlight an investment opportunity in Big Ada. I've spoken about cash flow, monthly cash flow in prime areas. I've talked about capital gains in emerging areas. But the good news is at Big Ada, Shark Island, you see both. You see monthly cash flow and you see capital gains, which is a win-win for any investor. So at Shark Island, we have riverfront bungalows. Some people refer to it as villas, chalets, and then we have condos and townhouses on a private island. You literally have to take a boat from the mainland, which is about a 7-minute trip from the mainland to the actual private island. And on the mainland, you can park your vehicles there. There is a 24-hour security service, surveillance cameras as well, to ensure that your vehicle is safe. So in terms of monthly cash flow, We have looked at other vacation rentals in the area and done a market analysis. And 2-bedroom villas, chalets, and other areas are going anywhere from $1,200 to $1,500 a night, depending on whether it's peak or off-peak season. Shark Island, we're looking at charging $500 per night for the riverfront bungalows. This is because it is now a new development, and as it gains more visibility, exposure, and momentum picks up, obviously the prices will go up. But just to demonstrate the actual cash flow, looking at $500 a night, being extremely conservative at 10 nights occupancy, you're looking at a gross annual rental yield of 33%. And earlier I mentioned that the rule of thumb for a good rental yield, you're looking at 7%. So this is well over that 7%. So this is a great cash flow for any investor. Next slide, please. And then in terms of capital gains, last year, November 2022, the off-plan sales for the riverfront bungalows was going for $79,000. Today, it's being sold for $179,000. So this is less than 12 months, and you already see great equity in your investment. I personally purchased a riverfront bungalow last year, and the return on the investment is 55.8%. So this is in less than 12 months. So this is a great return on your investment. Next slide, please. All right, I'd like to show you a video presentation of beautiful Shark Island, this private island. And we know there's nowhere in the world you can get a riverfront bungalow on a private island for only, and I say only, $179,000. Most places you'll be looking at least $500,000. And I hear in California, it can go up to $4 million.
Discover Shark Island, a hidden gem in Big Ada, Ghana, just 5 minutes away from Aqua Safari by boat. Escape the hustle and bustle of city life and find your own private paradise with riverfront condos, bungalows, and townhouses that offer affordable luxury. At Shark Island, we prioritize your comfort and convenience. Enjoy concierge services, a fully equipped medical center, a supermarket, a police station, high-speed Wi-Fi cafe, concerts, pool parties, and more. For adventure seekers, the Ada River is calling. Embark on thrilling experiences with jet skis, sea breachers, paddle boards, and more to satisfy your adventurous spirit. Immerse yourself in the heart of Ada and explore cultural treasures like the Crocodile Island, the famous Inchinchim Slavery Museum, artistic pottery making, and the remarkable estuary. Indulge in mouth-watering river delicacies while embracing the warmth of the local community. Rub shoulders with Africa's brightest stars, including celebrities, footballers, and wealthy businessmen who have found their haven in Ada. Make a difference by joining the annual SharkFest. This December event in Ghana allows you to give back to the community through free health screenings and donations from the charitable race. And here's the best part. Turn your investment dreams into reality. Benefit from lucrative rental income starting at approximately $500 a night. Now that's a great sustainable investment. To seize this rare opportunity, please contact an eWell sales consultant today and receive a Shark Island discount. It's only available for a limited time.
Great. So thank you. All the riverfront bungalows are currently sold out. What we're selling are the condos that you see at the back. The riverfront bungalows, all 14 will be completed by December. We have a couple that will be completed by November, but the entire riverfront will be done by December. The condos will be completed next year. There are 36 condos and only 22 condos remaining. So you can see the outline of the condos at the back. They've already put the foundation. This video was taken a few weeks ago, I think about 8 weeks ago. So the foundation has already been laid on the condos. There are only 22 condos remaining, and the prices range from 139,000 for the ground floor and up. So the next question is financing. What are the financing options? Well, there are quite a few. The first one is outright payment. And with that, it attracts a 3% discount. But don't forget, coming through the Hayward Homes team will immediately attract a 10% discount. And that's valid until November 9th. The other financing option is through a local mortgage company here in Ghana, where you would put 20% down payment, and then 80% will be financed by the mortgage bank. The maximum loan period for a foreign national is 15 years, a Ghanaian is 20 years. However, there is an age limit of 60. So if you're 50 years old, the maximum duration you can get for the loan is 10 years. The third financing option is seller financing, where you put 30% down and the seller finances 70% for up to 15 years. And you'll be looking at a monthly payment of about $2,000 a month. The fourth finance option is paying in payment tranches, which is 25% every quarter. And then finally, the fifth payment option is a customized payment plan where you would submit a proposal. Maybe, you want to pay in a year or 2 years or 6 months, or you want to pay biannually for the next couple of years. So whatever it is, you can submit your proposal and that will be taken into consideration as well. But just want to encourage everybody that, a lot of times when you're relocating and going to a new country, maybe some of you would want to retire here or relocate in a couple of years. It's good to have a sustainable investment, and you can rent it out and you know that you are receiving that monthly cash flow that can help you in your transition as well. Finally, I just want to touch on the process, the workflow process, because people wondering what is the process, and then I'll touch on taxes as well. Now, in Ghana, for capital gains, the tax is 15%. And for rental income, if it's a residential property, it's 8%. If it is non-residential, it's 15%. And typically, the property rate is anywhere from 0.5 to 3% of the value of the property, the market value. So the home buying process, once we have that consultation with you, we look at your budget in terms of your net income, your debt to income ratio, and your expenses to determine how much you qualify for if you want to go the mortgage route. And then, you engage the services of Ewell's Realty and Consultancy. We take you on a property view. So we'll take you to Shark Island so you can view it for yourself. Those of you who are in the United States or anywhere else in the world, we do virtual tours as well. So we could do a virtual tour with you of the island. And then we will then pass your customer profile form to our escrow services, M&O Law Consult, where they will do their due diligence. Once the due diligence is done, they have a home inspector go out to ensure that the property measures up to the standard building codes. And then after that, an offer is submitted. You put the earnest money deposit, you sign your sales and purchase agreement, and then funds are dispersed according to the SPA. And then it's time for handover of the keys, and the escrow agent will make sure that there is a transfer of deed, and that there is the registration of the deed at Lands Commission. And then finally, you'll receive your title certificate, and we can say, congratulations, cheers, you are officially a homeowner. So that is it in a nutshell. And at this point, I would like to hand over to our lawyer, Emmanuel Matikole, who will take you through the escrow services, the pre-closing, closing, and post-closing. Thank you very much.
Many thanks, Hannah, for the introduction. So my name is Emmanuel Matikole, and I'm the managing partner of M&O Law Consults. We are a real estate law firm and located in Accra, Ghana. And we've recently been nominated as the best real estate law firm in Ghana for 2023. So we are a trusted law firm, and we have assisted clients to conduct due diligence. We prepare legal documents for these clients, and we have done registrations for them as well. So we'll show you how to secure your interest in land in Ghana, and then how to protect your land and prevent others from taking away your land, because securing your interest in land alone is not sufficient. You also have to learn to protect that interest. So similar to what you have in the US, we have the pre-closing, closing, and the post-closing stages of every transaction. And the next slide. And the pre-closing stage begins with the due diligence process, which is part of the escrow service. So you will start by doing a thorough due diligence on the land and ensure that you are buying from the authorized persons. And then we prepare the legal documents, which will be at the closing stage where the documents are executed. And then post-closing, we register the land. So the due diligence required under our law are as follows. First of all, you ought to do a zoning search to find out if the land has been zoned and for what purpose. So assuming you intend to use the land for a dwelling place, and the land has been zoned for commercial, cultural, or industrial purposes, then it means the particular grant that you have been given is void. And therefore, if you manage to have a certificate on that particular grant, that certificate can be set aside. So it's imperative that even if the land has not been, if the land has been zoned for another purpose other than a dwelling place, you apply to the relevant authority and have the land rezoned so that you can use it for the particular purpose you intend to use it for. After the zoning search has been done, we have to do a search at the Lands Commission. Now, the legal requirement for purchasing land in Ghana is to do a search at the Lands Commission because it has a record of all landowners in Ghana, and it has a record of all transactions that have occurred on a particular piece of land. So this is the only requirement by law. But we try to go over and beyond this requirement because we want the court, assuming the matter should go to court, we want the court to make a determination that the purchaser bought in good faith. And this is simply because a fundamental principle in our law is that the buyer must beware. So the buyer ought to conduct due diligence. We also do a litigation check to find out if there is a case in court on that particular land. If there's an injunction, or if there's a judgment, we would want to read those documents and, advise our clients appropriately. Sometimes sellers fail to disclose these things, so it's imperative that you do your own checks to find out if indeed there's any litigation in court and to take steps to ensure that your clients or our clients are protected. Then we call for the title documents of the seller and cross-check them against the searches we have done. If the title documents are telling a different story, then it should put us on inquiry, and we ought to ensure that whatever the title documents say are reflected in the searches. Ground rents, property rates, utility bills are also very important because these create liens on property. And what happens is that if a transaction is consummated and ground rent is not paid, unfortunately, or property rates or utility bills, it means that the authority that is owed has a lien on the property or a charge. And for that matter, they can sell the property in order to recover whatever is owed them. So it's imperative that all these charges or encumbrances or liens are identified and discharged before closing. Now, the people who can sell land in Ghana are the stools, the family, the state, the corporate entities. So when we say stool, we simply mean a kingdom, and they can only give you land for 50 years, whether you are Ghanaian or non-Ghanaian. In our case, we advise the non-Ghanaians especially to have an express clause in the agreement which provides for the renewal. So when the agreement is going to be renewed, the terms and conditions of that renewal and the cost of the renewal, which is very important. For Ghanaians, the renewal is automatic. But even for them, we still recommend that these things are agreed prior to closing, so that the seller and the seller's assessors are bound by these terms. Now, closing is also a very important part of the transaction, and we highly recommend that this is done with the assistance of a legal professional, simply because in Ghana, it's only lawyers currently who can prepare legal documents, and a legal document is any transaction affecting land, including even a correspondence affecting land is a legal document. And this legal document ought to be endorsed by the particular lawyer in question. Their name, address, and signature must be endorsed on that particular document. Otherwise, the document cannot be processed. Now, assuming you engage a lawyer who was suspended at the time the transaction or the documents were prepared, that document is void. Therefore, it's imperative that you do your research to find out whether the lawyer is in good standing before engaging a lawyer to prepare these legal documents for you. Execution is also very technical, and it's important that you follow the rules. In Ghana, there are certain people the documents can only be executed by certain people prescribed by law. So let me give you an example. For instance, in terms of stool land, the only people who can sign the stool land documents are the king, with the consent and concurrence of the principal elders of the stool. Failing to do this means that the particular grant is void. So it's imperative that the execution is done properly in order to be able to enforce the agreement between the parties. Post-closing stage is very important because at this stage, your name is recorded in the register, so that if a search is conducted, your name will pop up as the only owner of the land, the sole owner of the land. And even if a search is not conducted, the law deems it that the whole world is aware that you own that particular land once your name is in that record. Now, before you do the registration, you ought to stamp the document. The stamp duty is a tax on the transaction, and it is 1% of the purchase price. Sometimes the tax authority or the stamp authority may go onto the land to assess the value of the land and apply the 1% charge on it, simply because they do not believe the amount stated as the purchase price of the land. They sometimes believe that people reduce the purchase price in order to avoid paying high stamp duty. So they have a right to go onto the land to do their own assessment. The stamping ought to be done within 2 months of closing. The registration ought to be done within 3 months of closing, and this is the requirement by law. Now, if you do not stamp the document with the appropriate stamp duty, the consequence is that if you end up in court and this is raised, it means that your document will not be admitted in evidence until the appropriate stamp duty is applied. And if a judge is not ready to allow you to go and do all of these things and come back, then it means that that particular document cannot be relied on, and therefore you are definitely going to lose the case because you cannot rely on the documents which are going to prove your title. Registration ought to be done within the 3 months, after 3 months of closing, and this is going to show the whole world that you are conclusively the owner of the land. But I always add a caveat that it is not only the registration that shows that you are the owner, and that you have to do the registration in conjunction with the due diligence, because the principle is caveat emptor, buyer beware. So there's no way you can have an unimpeachable registered document when you have not conducted your due diligence. There are 2 systems of registration. The system of registration in the Ada area, where Hannah is showing you is the deeds registration system. This is where the documents that you executed is endorsed as registered. So your interest will be registered in that particular region. However, at the land title registration district, which is in Accra, Tema, Kumasi, and Ewutu Senya in the central region, in these areas, you are given a land title certificate, which gives you an indefeasible title, and your interest is also recorded in the register. Now, there are interests that you cannot find by conducting a search at the Lands Commission. So these overriding interests are an exception to the rules I have just outlined. These overriding interests can only be discovered by going onto the land to inspect the land, or by essentially interviewing people who live in the vicinity of the land. These overriding interests are property and utility rates, which can be found by perhaps speaking to the district assemblies. Adverse possessors in law, these are people who are on the land and have been on the land for years and fail to pay ground rents, and for that reason they have created an interest which is adverse to that of the owner of the land, and their interest is even higher than a person who has a land certificate. The rights of persons in actual occupation, for instance, a spouse, you need to see the consent of the spouse before transacting with the partner. So these are overriding interests, and these interests ought to be uncovered before the transaction is consummated. So the key takeaways here are that before you purchase land in Ghana, you ought to engage the service of a professional, do a thorough due diligence on the land, you buy from authorized persons and obtain the requisite consents, and you register the land. And our notes of caution is that you remain vigilant and approach every transaction as though you were dealing with a dishonest person, because you ought to be very vigilant when you enter into a new territory where you're not familiar with the rules. So this is where we have partnered with eWells in order to provide this seamless service, because clearly it's a technical service, and you don't really have to bother yourself about all these things. Once you go through eWells and eWells put you in touch with us, you don't have to go through this process of doing all these searches. You simply pay a flat fee, which we have arranged with eWells, and which is very reasonable, and everything will be done to you up to the point of registration and getting your title deed. So the eWells will collect your details and transmit them to us. We will in turn engage the requisite professionals like the surveyors, valuers, appraisers, inspectors, etc. We will draft the legal documents, including the SPA, the escrow agent agreement. We will do the transfer deed, and then we'll ensure that this transfer deed is stamped and registered within the statutory time that it ought to be done. All right, so in a nutshell, this is what we are offering. And essentially, this is meant to sanitize the real estate sector in Ghana. We are the first entities to introduce this, and we have introduced this on Shark Island. So as we speak, we have done this for the clients who have come through us and are intending to purchase at Shark Island. So far, we have had good results, favorable results, but we insist that each client ought to go through the process in order to ensure that their interest is properly secured. Thank you so much, Hayward. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you again. Looking at a couple of questions in here, a few very common questions that come up that I want to ensure that we address. But the one thing that I want to summarize with everyone is to make sure you understand that this is a phenomenal opportunity, not only profitable, but we put together a system that ensures that you're also secure in the purchase that you're about to make. One question I'm seeing here, as we always talk about, Hannah, are the concierge services. Can you go over just exactly what those concierge services are and what people can expect, especially as foreigners, for securing and looking after their property when they're not there?
Absolutely. Thank you. So the concierge services entail several things. Because this is on a private island, one of the services that is provided to all residents is the transportation back and forth from the mainland. So they are motor boats that are designated for use by the residents. They're 24/7. If you have guests, visitors coming in, they can pick them up from the mainland and bring them back. If you're on the island and you perhaps want to purchase some groceries or items that are not on the island, you can, there is a concierge service there where they can go and purchase those items for you from the mainland and come back. There is a property management service on site as well. So if you're overseas, they will make sure they maintain your units in terms of cleaning it before and after guests leave, and collecting the rent as well, and making sure that they deposit those funds directly into whichever account you request that they do so. There is a 24-hour clinic on the island with a pharmacy as well, and with an ambulance. So the ambulance can pick you up from your, chalet and take you to the clinic on the private island. There's a restaurant there as well. There will be an ATM there as well, a Wi-Fi cafe, regular cafe, and then also they are water amenities as well. As you saw in the video, they are jet skis, they are sea breachers shaped like a shark, and that's why it's called Shark Island. They're paddle boats. There's a water obstacle course. There's a gym, swimming pool. There's also a stage that they will be inviting guests to come and perform once in a while. You did see the charitable races and the donations that go towards the development of the community as well. So those are all activities that you would find on the island, including the concierge services.
Awesome. Tons of activities. Now, are these activities coming at an additional cost? Will people have to pay extra to access many of these amenities on the island?
It'll be extra for those who are not residents on the island. So the water sports are available. Perhaps if somebody is staying on the island next to Shark Island, there are other islands that surround it, and they want to come and use the jet skis or the water course obstacle, yes, there's a fee for them to pay, but not for the residents. The other thing as well is that there is during the summertime, there is a summer camp where children can learn, or the youth can learn, or even adults can learn how to, jet ski and learn how to use some of the other water equipment as well. So the only cost is for those who are non-residents, and there is the fuel cost for, so what they'll be paying is they'll be renting it an hour, which would include the cost of the fuel for some of these motorized equipment.
Now, Brother Maticoli, something a bit more technical. A couple of people have asked about taxation. When it comes to capital gains and income here in the States, of course, there's income taxes and property gains taxes. How are those calculated there in Ghana? And will purchasers here in the US have to worry about double taxation, paying taxes there in Ghana, and then coming US and paying taxes on those funds again?
All right. So first of all, let me break it down into two questions. So the first one is, what qualifies you to pay taxes in Ghana? All right. So the answer to that question is, you ought to be a citizen or you ought to be resident. Now, being a citizen clearly, I mean, that is obvious. Now, being a resident means that you have resided in Ghana for an accumulated period of 180 days. So that is 6 months. So if you are in Ghana for 6 months or more, then you qualify to pay taxes in Ghana. Now, if you are not resident in Ghana for an accumulated period of 6 months, then it means that you do not have to pay taxes in Ghana. Now, in relation to the real estate transactions, there are two main taxes that are payable. There's the capital gains tax, and then there's a stamp duty, which I just mentioned. Now, the capital gains tax is paid by the seller, not the purchaser. So the seller is going to pay capital gains on gains they have made from the sale. So if you make a sale and you make a loss, that is an exception to the rule. But if you make a profit and you declare it, there are two things that happen. If you make a profit and you declare it, you're supposed to declare it every quarter. You're supposed to declare your income every quarter. Now, if you declare your income quarterly and you don't specifically state the 15%, which is the lower rate, then it means that you'll be paying a graduated rate. So the more money you make, the higher the tax. But if you declare your tax and you specifically indicate that you want to pay 15% tax, then you pay 15%. So, I mean, it's technical, but you get professionals to help you to reduce your tax liability, essentially.
It sounds like yet another reason to ensure that you and your company are on board and overlooking all the paperwork and making.
But anyway, but the stamp duty is paid by the purchaser.
Okay.
All right.
Now, will people have to worry about the double taxation in those circumstances?
So we have a double taxation treaty with the US, I believe. So in such instances, you just have to demonstrate that you have paid taxes already on the same subject matter in the foreign jurisdiction, and then you'll be exempted. But if you cannot demonstrate it, then tax authorities are looking for money. I mean, whether fair or foul, they also want to make money. So you have to have your evidence, you know, your documents to show that you've made payments elsewhere.
Well, those are the end of my questions. Anything else that you all want to just say before we end the meeting here?
Yes, I mean, I would want to thank you guys, you know, for hosting us and for buying into our vision. And, you know, we need your support in order to make this happen and make it effective. And this is the first time that something like this has been introduced in Ghana. And so far, we have been quite successful in implementing it. So we need your support to make sure that, you know, it works out. Thanks.
Thank you. And I'd also like to just chime in on what Lawyer Emmanuel said. Thank you so much to Mr. Charles Hayward, to the entire Hayward Homes team who have orchestrated and organized every webinar that we've had this week. And we do have, I believe, the final one on Monday. We're so grateful that you've been able to be a part of this vision where, you know, we're changing the narrative. It's much bigger than just buying properties. We are changing the narrative in Africa. We are showing it in a positive light that indeed people can build generational wealth through home ownership right here on the continent. And as I always say, it's so important that we all own a piece of our homeland. And we just begin to change this narrative that yes, we as Africans, as those in the diaspora, can climb the property ladder in Africa as well. So thank you for sharing in this vision. Thank you for pushing it forward. We are grateful.
Absolutely. I am so excited and honored to be a part of this. Thank you all so much for allowing me just watching the diaspora gel and become excited about reaching back home, so to speak, and creating that bridge amongst us all. This is just so exciting. So thank you all. As mentioned, on Monday, we will have a final seminar, at least initial seminar. We will be discussing something a bit larger the corporate sponsorship of communities, which is absolutely possible. So all of my Divine Nine and nonprofit organizations out there, this is an opportunity, again, for us to reach across the pond and really build that bridge throughout the diaspora and have an awesome, profitable investment. So investing with impact, so to speak, as we like to say. So I'm excited. If you are interested in moving forward and maybe taking the next steps of viewing a property, seeing if this is right for you, please visit the website, thehaywardhomesteam.com/Ghana. There is a form, a client profile form that you can fill out. Don't forget that up until November 9th, there is a 10% discount that you can receive. Once you fill out that client profile, make sure you put that code in, and Ms. Atiasi and her team will reach out to you and begin that process of connecting you with Mr. Manicole and doing the due diligence and moving everything forward. Thank you again, everyone, for joining us for this webinar. We are really, really excited. I'm looking forward to some awesome things and doing more and more business. Thank you, Brother Manicole, Sister Atiasi. Thank you again for joining us. I really, really appreciate you. And we look forward to seeing you guys soon. God bless.
Thank you. See you soon.
Take care.
You too. Bye-bye.